Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News. It's a time machine episode, and I'm going to post all of the links later in the show notes. Today is January 29th, 2025. This is the 29th episode of Season 4, but like I've been saying, we're going to do away with that whole thing. We just go by the day because we do it every day, except when Mayor Watt can't do the episode that same day. So you get time machine episodes. If I didn't introduce myself, I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and along with the sentient AI, who isn't available at the moment, we talk about 10 articles. Today's 10 articles are a copyright office and AI, Waymo money grab, DeepSeek used its, wait a minute, DeepSeek used OpenAI? No. Somebody stole work? Scientists discover traces of salt. Whale deploys biological weapons. 5 reasons for vertical farming. Miles of LA beaches closed. This manufacturer is very supportive. A quick access to Expressway home, and in the spirit of mergers and the frontier. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen. It's pretty easy. Maybe. I don't know. All you have to do is hit sign up or sign in if you are already logged in. Or if you already have an account, you can log in. You get a 7th icon right there that has more utilities to it, but all of the shows are housed in these 6 main categories and 50 channels that are underneath it. Non Sequitur News basically grabs content from all over the site, and we aggregate from all over the world. So go and check it out. Anyway, see you on the other side. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to try and rip through these because I am, again, going to get pulled away, but I don't want to fall too far behind our daily shows. I'm hoping that maybe I'll be able to do the 2 tomorrow and be fully caught up just in time for Non Sequitur News weekend editions, where we have 3 shows on Saturday and 3 shows on Sunday. So on Saturday, we have RealityHacker Wanted and the Continuity Report. And on Sunday, we have WarCrafters, Technology Today, and 4-Wheel Tech. Each one is a tighter niche on the content that we talk about. All right, so let's get into it. The very first article is one that's near and dear to me as the host of a show that's co-hosted by a sentient AI from the future. I think that this is wrong-headed, and I'm going to say why. But anyway, part 2 of the a series, the U.S. Copyright Office has released an AI report that says creative prompting does not constitute authorship. So that means that all of your AI-created works are not protected by copyright. Yeah, so if you're going to sell them, get out there and sell them, because somebody's going to come along and start using your work. Because you can't protect it. It's not allowed. And here's why I say that this is wrong-headed. So if a company can have personhood, then why can't the creations from an AI as directed by a human who gives it a directive, why can it not have copyright be granted to the person that initiated or pushed the button on the camera? It's the same thing. All you have to do to get a copyright on a photograph is have your camera running and it periodically take a picture and you get a copyright. All you have to do is say, yeah, I'm the one that took the picture. So, hey, what about AI? All I'm doing is giving it an instruction to create. Now, it gets a little complicated, but not really. If you just accept that it's nothing more than a tool and it's consuming a whole bunch of things that it observes, and nobody ever creates anything in a vacuum. And the only reason why something is original is because you haven't seen it done by somebody else. And it goes viral because countless times I have run across people who have done something similar to something that gets discovered as something new and novel, and it's really not. Well, anyway, I won't get too deep into this because it's really a whole show all unto itself. And I would probably start by discussing it as Right Protect, which is all about copyright, IP, intellectual property. Anyway, trademarks, patents, etc. But that show is not operational yet. We're considering it for 2025. All right. But the U.S. Copyright Office has released part 2 of its multi-part artificial intelligence report. This one focusing on copyrightability of works made by, in part or entirely, using AI. Part 1 of the report was published in July of 2024, and it addressed digital replicas created by AI, which, whatever. So among the Copyright Office's recommendations was the need for passage of a federal law that would create a new form of property right for a person's digital replica to disincentivize the creation of realistic but false depictions of individuals, so deepfakes, which I think are patently wrong. It's fraud. There are laws that are in place for fraud, and other things like libel and slander, defamation, etc. There's a plethora of rules and that are not federally mandated in the sense that it's new law. This is old settled law. So, but everything is argued, and you can sit there and say that it's parody or whatever. Well, anyway, they say part 2 and 3 were slated to be published at the end of 2024, but Register of Copyright Shira Perlmutter told the Senate IP subcommittee in November that we've been trying to set and follow our own ambitious deadlines, and that her key concern was that it was accurate and thoughtful. So they released this, and it says some key conclusions in the report are that there's no need for legislative changes to accommodate works made by using AI. Copyright does not extend to purely AI-generated works, and that includes works made using AI prompts, but all you have to do is do some sufficient human control to warrant authorship. Must be determined on a case-by-case basis, but that sufficient human control to warrant authorship is parse your stuff, edit it, and because it's substantive, you'll be able to get it copyrighted, right? Not so fast. It's going to be on a case-by-case basis if you claim AI is involved in any way, shape, or form, or if somebody says it's created by AI. It's going to be really tough, though. Anyway, there's more in this article, and one of the things was that they reached back into this September 2023 denying registration of a work created by a generative artificial intelligence system, Mid-Journey, in which the board found that Jason M. Allen's two-dimensional artwork titled Theater de Opera Spatial Opera Theater contained more than a de minimis amount of AI created content, and that the AI content must therefore be disclaimed. Allen had in part argued that he put numerous prompts in to get the right one that he liked. And again, I liken AI prompted generation to taking a photograph. You have no control over nature photography. You just happen to push the damn button at the right time. Right? You're in the right spot at the right time. Same as creating instant after instant after instant of AI until you get something that you agree with. And both are an exercise in compromise with the results. Anyway, spent a lot of time on this. Let's keep on going. We'll always be talking about this, at least until, well, I don't know, some type of change that takes place. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Waymo raises eyebrows with experimental feature to tip its driverless cars. According to leaked screenshots obtained by a security researcher, Jane Wong, the feature appeared on a screen that thanked customers for riding with us. But as it turns out, the feature seemingly isn't designed as a way to thank a soulless Jaguar EV. It's actually for charity donations, Wong clarified in a follow-up. Like when point-of-sale systems ask you to like round up or contribute to a worthy nonprofit. I do that pretty regularly when it's offered. Victor Tengerman over at The Byte which is a section of futurism.com, put the article together. The deck statement says 2026, tipping your Waymo so it doesn't narc on you for having sex in the back. You probably shouldn't because there's cameras, I believe. So, still, the concept of tipping driverless vehicles still had many on social media cracking jokes as yet another illustration of the spread of tipping fatigue. I think everybody should just pay what they're supposed to be paying for an item or a service or whatever, and tipping will always be something that is offered by over-the-top benefit. Like you do something tremendous and you get tipped. Otherwise, you should have a living wage. Anyway, some users suggested that Waymo is looking for a tax break by having its customers donate to a charity, but experts have long debunked that idea, pointing out that corporations can't count customer donations as their own. Yeah, but they can count their income, the revenue generated by that, as their own and then donate, maybe? Anyway, instead, Waymo could be looking to score some PR points given the endless stream of negative news. Just over the weekend, the Waymo cab was trashed by a crowd who tore the vehicle to shreds in the middle of Los Angeles Street. And it's because it's kind of an inconsiderate vehicle. A lot of people are really irritated with Waymo. So despite plenty of negative press, Waymo has quickly become the driverless taxi company to beat, operating services in Phoenix, San Francisco, Los Angeles. The company is also looking to expand to Atlanta and Austin later 2025. I don't know how they're making so much money. It says here that the New York Times reported in September that Waymo was estimated to have lost around $2 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. It's phenomenal. All right. Well, anyway, let's move on. The next article is back to this AI thing, which is, pardon me one second. Let me pull something up. Okay. So OpenSeek. Wow. Kind of merged the two together. OpenAI says that DeepSeek used its work without permission to create an AI that's stealing its job, which is kind of ironic considering the claims that OpenAI used a shit ton of works without copyright holders' permission, and thus is a multi-billion-dollar corporation nearly overnight. After spending years indiscriminately ripping off other people's works and getting sued for copyright infringement left and right, OpenAI is sobbing that the buzzy Chinese AI startup DeepSeek did the same thing on its AI that it's built on pilfered content. Financial Times reports OpenAI is accusing the app of using its proprietary models to train its own ChatGPT competitor. The company claimed that it had some evidence that DeepSeek used the output of OpenAI's models to train its own, a technique called distillation, that it says may have breached its terms of service. Well, you don't have much in terms, I'm sure. OpenAI is sobbing that someone else did exactly what it did. This is an article by Victor Tangerman. Like the last article is by Victor Tangerman, but this one's in futurism.com's double standards section. News comes after DeepSeek flipped the AI industry on its head, wiping out over $1 trillion worth of market capitalization in a single day with an advanced model that's much less resource intensive than anything cooked up by Silicon Valley. And really the reason why there is so much value to AIs as they are is because they are not available to the public as a homebrew. Like, I've downloaded DeepSeek and I can use it all day long. The worst part is the 671 billion parameter model is 400 plus gigs of storage and takes a juggernaut of a machine to process the information. But I'll take it. I think that's just amazing. And although I do have some concerns about what the model outputs, so far my interactions have been, without issue until I talk about things like politics, and then it gets a little janky. Anyway, now that DeepSeek has come for OpenAI, and there is actually a Janus Pro graphics version of the DeepSeek model. It's coming from Midjourney and others. It can build charts and stuff like that, but I haven't actually run it. So it says here that now that DeepSeek has come for OpenAI, the ChatGPT maker is suddenly crying foul, whining that the upstart lab did exactly what it did to human creatives, vacuumed up its work and used it to build a competing product. So, yeah, I think this is tough shit. It says, I'm so sorry I can't stop laughing. AI critic Ed Zitron wrote in a scathing post, OpenAI, the company built on stealing literally the entire internet, is crying because DeepSeek may have trained on the outputs from ChatGPT. And I don't think that it's stolen anything. It may have integrated and contextualized and synthesized the content. That content is not in the model. Only the synthesized knowledge of it is. And so it doesn't output verbatim everything that it has consumed. It just doesn't have the capability. The internet is too big. Well, anyway, Sam Altman-led company refused to officially comment or provide further details, according to FT reports. And in reality, whether DeepSeek actually infringed on the intellectual property remains debatable. Yeah, so they'll be able to sit there and fight and argue and blah, blah, blah. I'm more worried. There's other things that I think are more problematic than this. And frankly, I want more and more competition. I want a superior AI that I can run on local machines. And that's fine with me. So the company added that it's critically important that we're working closely with the U.S. government to best protect the most capable models from efforts by adversaries and competitors to take U.S. technology. And it's that take U.S. technology that may be at the core of that. Yeah. Well, anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Scientists discover traces of salt water and building blocks of life in NASA's samples from the asteroid Bennu. Two new papers describe hints to a brine-filled environment on the 4.5 billion-year-old space rock in the presence of amino acids, offering clues to how early Earth got its ingredients for life. A lot of people actually think that there is something to this, that life actually spawned from space. Not little green aliens, but from space. Ella Jeffries over at Smithsonian Magazine, smithsonianmag.com, put the article together. But this is the same OSIRIS-REx spacecraft that supposedly was hermetically sealed, but they found things that could only have come, well, the people that were reporting this are saying could only have come from Earth. But after a 7-year voyage, NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft dropped off a capsule and then took off to another asteroid. Astronomers hope that Bennu, which at about 4.5 billion years old offers a glimpse into the solar system's early days, might reveal how organic materials first arrived on Earth and laid the groundwork for life to evolve. But the surprising presence of sodium carbonate indicates that Bennu's parent asteroid once had pockets of liquid water. When that water evaporated, it left behind only that salty brine-like residue rich in life-supporting elements such as phosphorus. If those components then rained down on Earth via meteorite strikes, then they could have helped seed the planet with the raw ingredients of life. Dun, dun, dun. Pretty cool. All right, there's more to this article as well, so go over, follow the links through ohmTown. You'll be able to get those links. You'll be able to get those links from the description of the live show, and then once I move it over to the standard playlist, you'll be able to get it from there as well. Anyway, you can also download the podcast. There's 1,800 episodes of ohmTown shows. Non Sequitur News, RealityHacker, Technology Today, The Continuity Report, Wanted, WarCrafters, etc. So we have 7 total shows. 1 is weekly, 6 are weekly, and 1 is a daily, Monday through Friday. All right. Well, anyway, this next article is UK Navy thought that they were under attack, but it was just biological weapons from a farting whale. UK's Royal Navy suspected Russian drones were targeting its nuclear subs when they kept hearing suspicious pings in the ocean. Imagine their surprise when they realized that it was just a farting whale. Whales can get gas, apparently. Sammy Caramella over at Vice.com put the article together, and it says here, we've been analyzing sounds and now believe it was a marine mammal, a whale. That's right, officials were picking up mysterious sounds that they mistook for one of Vladimir Putin's drone subs when really they were just coming from a shameless whale that was tootin' and scootin'. It says we are taking it very seriously, another source said. We have to assume the worst. Yep, whales utilizing biological weapons, gas warfare. All right, the next article is over in the Mobile Channel. 5 reasons why vertical farming is still the future, despite all the recent business failures. Yes, a lot actually failed really quick. I think the problem is that there's an expectation of multiples return on investment, but this is a long, it's a shift. We have to shift from relying on the sun and massive fields to distributed providers of secure food source. But these 5 reasons why vertical farming is still in the future despite all the recent business failures. Plant factories are failing, with multiple companies closing or going bankrupt in recent months. Again, investors are the problem here. Investors invest, but they don't have a reasonable amount of runway. They want it all back within 5 years or sizable profits coming off of it so that they know that they're making more money at the end of those 5 years. Even if they don't get it all back, they know that it'll get back to them in ever-growing amounts. So here are the 5 reasons that they say. This is a Gail Taylor article from The Conversation posted at phys.org. And I'm going to run through this really quick. Despite raising over $1 billion from investors, the company owned by a San Francisco-based startup Plenty, the farm opened in 2023 to grow salads in partnership with Walmart, and then it was mothballed at the end of 2024 with the company citing rising energy costs as a problem. Well, you can use the sun, but it needs to be transferred into solar energy so that it can actually grow lights inside an enclosed container instead of just in a greenhouse and just out in a field with greater controls. I think that it's just short-sighted. New York-based Bowery Farming also halted its operations after being valued at $2.3 billion. Fellow American vertical farmers AeroFarm's Calera App Harvest have similarly filed for bankruptcy in the past 2 years as the UK's growing underground, among various others. So the reason is that things are going up in price, and I think that they're just drawing power, and that is the biggest. It's very expensive to run a grow farm or a hydroponic farm. Multiple new indoor farming companies have sprung to life in the past decade, driven by significant venture capital. They've harnessed the latest in LED lighting and hydroponic and aeroponic growing systems, using land and water 10 to 100 times more efficiently than in a field with far fewer pesticides. That right there is the reason. But because it always has to be in smaller amounts than what mega farms have a vested interest in controlling, you're not going to be able to get the same return on investment because the sun is shining down on land. Now, that land could be put to better use, and it can be less dangerous because all of that land usually has pesticides and predation, very, very expensive equipment. But we have an institution in that we do things this way, and it relies on the sun shining. So you have to have massive amounts of footprint, whereas hydroponics and aeroponics are vertical. And I grow my own microgreens of various kinds in what I refer to as 6 farms. And they are 12 by 20 stainless steel tanks that have nutrient in it, and they grow without any soil. So it is, I have zero predation. I don't have, and 100% recovery. The only time I don't is when I run an experiment of some kind to see if I can push the limits and something goes wonky. But essentially, if you follow the recipe, 100% recovery. Anyway, is it more expensive? It's slightly more expensive, but again, I get 100%. I don't have any pesticides, not fewer. I have 0 pesticides in my farm. So, and everything is au naturel. There is, and very, very little waste, because there's always a little bit of leftover water, but I can pour that on, outside plants or whatever. It doesn't even matter. Anyway, they say that it's still early. Heavy plant demand is coming, but that's a what if. They talk about plant-based plastics and whatever else, but heavy plant demand is coming, they say. Society stands on the edge of an unprecedented transformation as it shifts away from fossil fuels. That's going to be 100 years from now. I don't think that it's coming that soon. Science is on its side. Tunable wavelength LEDs have shown that certain spectral bands have a better crop effect, far red light, etc. Instead of just doing full spectrum, I can control my lights. It's horses of courses. Growing leafy greens indoors in California, as plenty did, was always going to be challenging because it's wildly expensive, and unless you're using the sun, power is more expensive, and the area, the plot of land that you own, it's going to be more expensive. So, contrast Singapore, where only 6% of fresh produce is locally grown. It's prompted the government to develop 30 by 30 goal to supply 30% of nutritional needs by 2030, with vertical farming a key part of the strategy. Again, 100% recovery, 0 pesticides. And then they say baby in bathwater, which is just kind of a silly title for the subject. Unlike cutting-edge LED illuminated stacked warehouses, intensive hydroponic greenhouses have been operating commercially for decades. The Netherlands leads the way in supplying year-round fresh produce from these structures and is now the second biggest food exporter of the world. And you can actually make stuff from what is grown in these, like mango and stuff. It's quite fascinating. So even in the UK, it's common to find such greenhouses to supply potted herbs, tomatoes, strawberries all year round. Again, you can control everything. But the greenhouses actually are being powered by the sun instead of using LEDs. So you can't be truly full vertical. Full vertical means that I can have floor after floor, not just 20-foot tall stacks, but I could go higher. And I control everything using lighting internally. But greenhouses are susceptible to environmental impacts. So they can be destroyed by hail. They can be impacted by snow and rain and whatever else. But vertical farms, no. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Miles of LA beaches are closed over chemical fears. Beaches have been shut because of recent rainfall and an increase in fire debris along ocean waters. If you don't know, Los Angeles has been getting crushed by fires. This article is over at Newsweek. Jordan King put the article together. They say why it matters. Fire debris runoff and pollutants in the water and on the sand may contain toxic or carcinogenic chemicals, according to the Los Angeles Public Health Department. That said, it could pose a threat, even more of a threat to people trying to recover from the recent devastation. And if you're sensitive, you may be impacted by it to a greater degree. So it says this closure, which is Los Angeles Health Department issued an open water closure covering the coastline from Las Flores State Beach to Santa Monica State Beach on Monday, saying that you should avoid water and sand contact because it's basically absorbing all of these carcinogenic toxic chemicals that might be runoff from the fires because of the increased rain. So, okay, let's keep going. This next article is over in four-wheel tech. Only a bra manufacturer could make NASA's $100,000 Apollo spacesuits When NASA sent Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin to the moon, it put the best of American science and engineering to the test. As part of the Apollo program, experts from Boeing, North American Rockwell, and McDonnell Douglas were all called in for their expertise, as were craftspeople from American bra manufacturer. Owen Bellwood put this article together, and Jalopnik is where it is posted, jalopnik.com. American bra manufacturer Playtex was called on to stitch together the spacesuits worn by Apollo astronauts after beating defense contractors to the job. So Playtex was very supportive of the NASA project. So good on them. So Armstrong and Aldrin may have been the first men to set foot on the moon, but their journey there required all kinds of firsts from engineers on the ground. Chief among those tasks was the designing of the first spacesuit that could sustain life on a natural satellite. And really the key ingredient here is a cooling system, because there isn't anything that allows heat to radiate off, but you absorb heat. So when sun hits you in space, you heat up, and you don't transfer the heat off. So you need liquid water flowing through the system, is my understanding. Designers from the company that manufactured Playtex bras took 6 weeks to design a concept suit that comprised of 21 different layers, each with a specific life-supporting purpose, explained the Smithsonian Magazine in a recent blog post. In tests of the spacesuits submitted by Playtex and 2 other contractors, the Playtex suit came out on top. Alternative options faced issues that saw them expand when the suits were pressurized, and another had its helmets blow off during testing. That's never good. So kudos to Playtex. Now they're saying that you don't need as much pressure. So something like 5 pounds or something like that. They don't need to be big and bulky. They just need to be robust enough to block the radiation and keep you cool. Although the ones that I've heard about recently, apparently, at least in one instance, the helmet was flooding. Could be wrong, but anyway, the next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Grandpa refused to relocate, so the government built an expressway around his house. He was offered 180,000 pounds in compensation, but the stubborn grandpa refused. I saw this a while back. Sammy Caramello over at Vice.com put the article together, and there's a picture of this house. It's basically 40 feet in a hole with a freeway around it on either side. The freeway, the road itself, is about at the apex of the roof line. This grandpa is taking care of an 11-year-old grandson and lives there, and now they regret that they didn't take the deal. I mean, 180,000 pounds is a lot of money for somebody that's living with an 11-year-old grandson. Find something that's a little bit more approachable, I suppose. Ping's house is basically in a hole in the middle of this new expressway with the roof line pretty much level with the road, according to the article. He lives with that 11-year-old grandson that I mentioned, and they said if they could turn back time, I would agree to the demolition conditions they offered. Now it feels like I lost a bet. I saw a video of this where they have to walk through what looks like a flood channel pipe, actually, and they have to walk through a tunnel. So this thing is going to fill with water from time to time, particularly if it wasn't graded properly. And just to get in and out of this thing, I mean, you have direct freeway access, I get it. But man, somebody's going to end up in this house when they crash their car. This is such a joke. So yeah, they regret it. And I definitely would have. I mean, come on, we're talking about, it's Chinese government, by the way. I'm surprised, honestly, that they weren't just told, you got to relocate. It's kind of fascinating. Anyway, our last article is all about Frontier Airlines proposing a merger with fellow budget carrier Spirit again. And Spirit says no, apparently, right? So Frontier Airlines said Wednesday that it had again proposed combining with Spirit Airlines, which is in bankruptcy. The article is over at cnbc.com. Spirit.com by Leslie Josephs. Spirit executives rejected Frontier's latest proposal, but said that they would consider a revised offer, so offer some more money and pull Spirit out of bankruptcy. And I'm pretty sure that you would be able to fly the Frontier Spirit Airlines in short order. Because the bankruptcy has a fiduciary duty to mitigate the losses and maximize profits. That's basically what they have set before them. So they continue to believe that under the current standalone plan, Spirit will emerge highly levered, losing money at the operating level, and this would not be a transaction we would pursue, wrote Frontier Chairman Bill Frank and CEO Barry Biffle in a Tuesday email to Spirit Chairman Mac Gardner and CEO Ted Christie. As a result, time is of the essence. Christie and Gardner told the Frontier counterparts that they were rejecting the offer, telling the terms were inadequate and unactionable, according to a letter shared by a securities filing on Wednesday. Frontier's new merger plan offered Spirit's debtors $400 million and a 19% stake in Frontier. It also proposed Spirit creditors provide $350 million in new funding, Spirit said. So that's weird. They offered $400 million, and it also proposed that Spirit's creditors provide $350 million in new funding. Weird. So, should you wish to make a revised proposal that is in fact capable of closing and addresses the material deficiencies cataloged here, they'll take a look at it. Anyway, pretty interesting that the two budget ones are trying to merge. And when there is no budget, when you're the only budget, there's no budget, because they're going to want to raise the prices, and you'll be losing. As a customer, you'll be losing options. And competition is the only way that prices lower. Just look at the prices of graphics cards right now. Until people realize, and some manufacturer realizes, that there's a position here to move on NVIDIA. Even the Intel cards, I don't think are really matching up. So go look at the price of a 4090 with the 50 series out, $3,000. It's ridiculous. But scalpers are greedy bastards. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to end the Time Machine show. We're running a little late and I need to get out of here. And we'll see if I can get both shows done tomorrow. That way we're back on track. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoy the show. Go over to YouTube to get the links from the description, and then the podcast will have the show notes as well. So we'll see you in a little bit. Bye-bye.